Hey guys, what's up? We're back with another build video. Today we have a weapon build, actually, that is going to pair quite well with some Void stuff, including Graviton Forfeit, of course, but not limited to Graviton Forfeit. But of course we are using the Stinky Fart Cloud Touch of Malice, and of course I don't mean that it's bad, as in it is stinky. I mean it looks like a fart cloud. But anyways, Touch of Malice has the trait Charged with Blight. You're going to get some precision hits, and eventually you're going to be able to charge it up into a ball of darkness and fire a Blight that will shroud these combatants in darkness and make them blind, which we'll get back to the blind in a moment. If you have the Catalyst, it's not necessary, but it does help. Rapid Hit will give you a little more stability and reload speed on those precision hits. And that's nice. Of course, the reload speed isn't that big of a deal because with touch you don't want to reload because of its intrinsic trait. The final round in the mag will deal bonus damage drawing from the wielder's life force and then regenerates itself. Rapidly defeating 3 targets restores your health. Guardians and powerful combatants count as more than one defeated target. And this will also build into our Devour because it will refresh our Devour as well. And the blind will also count towards blinding for unstopped champions, so that's a pretty strong thing. Even though technically Touch of Malice isn't an arc weapon, it does stop the unstops. Okay, so technically with this loadout you can have all 3 champ mods because scout rifles are anti-barrier and the blind will unstop. You have an overload option here with Velocity Baton or any grenade launcher, but we'll talk about why Velocity Baton is the best for this build if you have it rather. And Bittersweet also you do have unstop with a certain artifact mod, but we'll get into why we're using that right now. With the artifact mods, obviously we're gonna have anti-barrier scout rifle on for that little extra breaking of the shieldage. We're gonna have rapid impacts for our special grenade launcher. We're gonna build into Devour with power from pain. We're gonna have this on as well because we have the aspect where we go invis after we finish, so getting that little extra damage resist is nice. Concussive reload, so we're weakening everything we hit with our grenade launcher. Curative orbs to make a ton of orbs because this build is all about making orbs, as well as Void renewal, so we can make some Void breaches as well. Kinetic impacts, again, to have that unstop stun with your grenade launcher, and arc compounding. That's why we're running Bittersweet yet again with this build, because we have blind technically with this build. This isn't necessary, so you know, if you're maybe not running this in an endgame activity and you don't need the extra damage, Old God's Right is okay. You could also run Conductive Cosmic Crystal. You can really switch this out for anything, but if you want a little extra damage against unstops, this is one way to do it. So you might ask, why am I running Graviton Forfeit with this build? Well, we're just going to read the flavor text for Graviton because this is an exotic I don't use that often, and I'll be completely honest, until I put this build together I really didn't know how it works. So, Vanishing Shadow increases the duration of any invis effects. Well, I knew that, but the best parts are yet to come. While you are invisible, your melee recharges faster, your weapons reload faster, and your recovery is greatly increased. Now, we don't really care about the melee thing, but it is nice because usually you can dodge near enemies to get your smoke bomb back because, you know, that's just a normal thing you do on Hunter. But the reload is nice, so when you're invis, if you maybe don't have your grenade launcher reloaded, you can do that. You can kind of just reset, and having your recovery greatly increased as well is nice, especially if you mess up with this build, because it's easy to do so. So you can kind of take a second to reset yourself with this build, go invis, reload your weapons, get your health back, and then go back to killing some stuff. Now, if you want specifics, your recovery will instantly go up to 100, meaning that it doesn't really mean you need to max it out yourself, because again, while you're invis, you're gonna have that at 100. You see, I have it at 70 just for the base, but we're gonna have Devour up basically the entire time with this build. So again, your recovery doesn't need to be maxed out. And yeah, you do get that bonus melee regeneration rate, but it's really just kind of icing on the cake. It's not important to this build. Now we look at our armor mods here. Feel free to pause and apply if you so choose. We have Kinetic Siphon on just to make some more orbs, Dynamo to get some extra ability or super energy near enemies while we're dodging, Focusing Strike just to give us, again, that class ability because going invis is very important. And my mobility isn't high, so that's why I have Impact and, Focusing Strike. So if you do have high mobility, you don't need this necessarily. You could throw like a Void Loader on, you could throw even like a melee kickstart or something like that. Resist obviously to whatever you're doing. If you're having trouble surviving, definitely run at least one of these. If you're really having a tough time, run both Better Already and Recuperation. But if not, you can throw on an Innervation or an Invigoration as well. And always powerful attraction with these dodge builds because it is just a great way to pick up an orb if you're not near it. Utility Kickstart again to get our dodge back a little bit quicker, and Outreach to give us more class ability energy when we are using our melee. Now for our aspects, and the most important part. We're not really going to pay attention because you're going to have Snare Bomb. Void Grenade is just really good. Stylish Executioner, we're going to be weakening basically everything with this build, especially with the grenade launcher. So you will have the chance to use Stylish Executioner just about all the time. And we always have Vanishing Step because it's just a quick way to go invis. It's guaranteed. You can save your dodge for sticky situations. And it's always a nice, not really a get out of jail free card because you can still die if you're not paying attention to where the enemies are shooting, because they will shoot at your last known location, but it is definitely a safe thing to have on. For our fragments, we have Echo of Obscurity, which again is going to give us that invis when we finish an enemy, so just another way to get invis if you need it. And again, that's why we have that artifact mod that gives us a little extra resist. Echo of Starvation, because again, Devour is important. We're going to be making orbs with our Touch of Malice, double kills, triple kills, all that, as well as with attrition orbs on Velocity Baton, and as well as on shield breaks. So when you break shields, you will also get orbs. So again, this you're never not going to have Devour, and the artifact mod where we make Void Breaches on Void weapon kills also will make Void Breaches, which will allow us to grant Devour as well via the artifact. Echo of Persistence as well, which is going to increase our invis and Devour timers, which is very, very important. Having those up for as long as we can really helps this build shine. And I did say it's a weapon build, but your invis and Devour are extremely important to this build. But if you do it right, you won't have to rely on them as much, right? But they are important. And then, of course, Echo of Leeching. So if you do get a melee kill, you get that extra regen. You can swap this one out if you want to do something different. This one was one I just wanted to try out and see how much of a difference it can make. It's not bad, but again, really, like I said, Invis and Devour are where this build make its bread and butter. Now, this build, like I said, weapon build. And there are dangers to this build because Touch of Malice will just drain your life, and it's a very high risk, high reward build. I'm gonna play some gameplay here for you. You'll notice that it's a little risque. It's not the best build in the game. I'm not here to make every build be the best or make meta builds only. This is definitely a niche build, and I enjoy it simply because it is very important on how you use your weapons. You want to make orbs, as many as possible, whether it's getting a couple kills with Touch of Malice to proc Kinetic Siphon, or just shooting some Velocity Baton and proccing attrition orbs and making orbs that way. That's another option as well. You basically just want to make sure you're making a ton of orbs. And as long as you're doing that, you will always have Devour up. You will always have access to Recuperation as well to get that little extra health if you need it. And as long as you're getting kills with Touch of Malice, you're going to keep that Devour up. Now, in lower level stuff, and places where you can just kill a bunch of trash mobs, you're always going to have Devour. But in more difficult activities, you're going to have to watch your Devour timer. You're going to have to make sure you're not, killing yourself basically with Touch of Malice, and so on. So, this build is, again, just high risk, high reward. There's not many builds like this in the game where you essentially play with your life a little bit in order to get the most out of your weapons, which is another reason why I like it. And I'm sure I've actually seen some other touch builds out there, but they're very rare because they are a little bit harder to run. But again, I just had a lot of fun making this. I think it's a fun build to use. That's just my opinion. But yeah, enjoy the rest of the gameplay, and see you in the next one.